It's October 26th, 2019. 6 helicopters are traveling towards Barisha, Syria. On board are 50 elite soldiers from Delta Force and the 75th Ranger Regiment. Their target is leader of the most brutal terrorist organization, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. The mission is top secret, known only to the highest ranks of the US government. After years of searching, the world's most wanted terrorist has finally been located. This is the story of finding and eliminating of al-Baghdadi. Chapter 1. The Challenge of Finding a Ghost. Al-Baghdadi proved to be an extraordinarily elusive target, unlike his predecessor Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, who was killed by a US airstrike in 2006, or even Osama bin Laden, who maintained a relatively static compound in Pakistan. Al-Baghdadi was constantly on the move. Intelligence reports suggested he never stayed in one location for more than a few days, and he trusted virtually no one with his whereabouts. US intelligence agencies worked around the clock to track down leads. They monitored communications, tracked financial networks, and interrogated captured ISIS fighters. But al-Baghdadi seemed to always be one step ahead. By 2017, the Iraqi military, backed by US air power and advisors, recaptured Mosul after a brutal 9-month battle. In Syria, a coalition of Kurdish and Arab forces, supported by American Special Operations troops, began closing in on Raqqa, ISIS's self-declared capital. As ISIS lost territory, al-Baghdadi lost his protection. The vast network of safe houses, loyal supporters, and financial resources that had kept him hidden began to crumble. Kurdish forces in Syria had captured several high-ranking ISIS officials, including some who had direct access to al-Baghdadi's inner circle. Under interrogation, they began to reveal details about the organization's communication networks. One particularly valuable source was Abu Bakr al-Khattab, a Syrian who served as one of al-Baghdadi's key facilitators. Khattab eventually provided crucial information about how al-Baghdadi communicated with his network. This intelligence led to the identification of Abu Muhammad al-Halabi, a Syrian operative who served as one of al-Baghdadi's most trusted couriers. Rather than capturing al-Halabi immediately, intelligence agencies decided to monitor him, hoping he would lead them to al-Baghdadi himself. For months, US intelligence agencies conducted what they called pattern of life surveillance on al-Halabi and other suspected facilitators. The surveillance revealed a complex web of relationships and safe houses throughout northwestern Syria. Al-Baghdadi appeared to be moving in a roughly triangular pattern between 3 main areas: the countryside around Idlib, the border region near Turkey, and rural areas east of Aleppo. The challenge was that al-Baghdadi never stayed in one location long enough for a strike. By the time intelligence agencies confirmed his presence at a location, he had already moved on. But in the summer of 2019, intelligence analysts noticed that al-Halabi was making regular trips to a small cluster of compounds near the village of Barisha, close to the Turkish border. The area was controlled by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, a Syrian rebel group with loose affiliations to al-Qaeda, an unlikely place for an ISIS leader to hide. Afterward, the CIA managed to recruit a source inside al-Baghdadi's network. The source revealed that al-Baghdadi had been staying at the single remote house for several weeks, unusually long for someone who typically moved every few days. Intelligence agencies learned that he was accompanied by his wives and children. Eventually, the location was confirmed. Finally, the CIA found al-Baghdadi, but this was just the beginning of the mission. After gathering all necessary information, President Donald Trump authorized the mission on October 23, 2019, giving the go-ahead for what would be one of the most significant special operations raids since the killing of Osama bin Laden. Special forces estimated every challenges. The Baghdadi compound was not a typical house. High concrete walls surrounded the main house. The main structure was a 2-story building with blackout windows. Every entrance was secured, and the entire area was designed to provide maximum privacy from overhead surveillance. The most challenging part was that the compound was connected to a designed escape tunnel that could have ruined the whole operation. Special troops had to go in silently because if al-Baghdadi noticed the presence of any threat, he would escape. To make matters worse, the compound sat in territory controlled by various militant groups, all hostile to American forces. This is why this plan had been crafted by some of the world's most experienced counterterrorism minds. The mission was planned and executed by the Joint Special Operations Command, the same elite unit that had conducted the Bin Laden raid. Chapter 2: The Raid. On October 26, 2019, 6 helicopters took off from bases in Iraq at 23:50. The operation has 3 main steps. First, they must penetrate hostile airspace undetected. Second, they must breach the compound and corner the target. Finally, they must eliminate or capture him alive. The helicopters must maintain radio silence while flying at extremely low altitudes to avoid detection by multiple radar systems. The White House deliberately coordinated with Turkish, Russian, and Iraqi officials just hours before the operation, walking a diplomatic tightrope to avoid triggering an international incident. After flying 70 minutes across hostile territory, navigating through Iraqi, Turkish, and Russian-controlled airspace, the compound comes into view. Now, they must land without alerting the target. The helicopters arrived at the compound at approximately 1 a.m. local time. Near the target area, 2 helicopters landed at points farther away to create an impenetrable perimeter around the area. Their mission was to block all entry and exit routes and confront any reinforcements that might arrive. Also, 2 helicopters landed near the compound. Before the helicopter blades had even fully stopped spinning, the special forces jumped out the side doors and quickly moved towards the compound's walls. And 2 other helicopters were on standby for potential support. Instead of using the main door, which was booby-trapped, the special forces immediately used a short, powerful explosion to destroy a section of the wall and create an entrance. Al-Baghdadi's guards, who were completely surprised, fired hard. The special forces, with precise gunfire, took down al-Baghdadi's guards one by one. Their accurate shots neutralized several guards within seconds. After eliminating the armed men, the special forces quickly moved into the house to prevent escape. They knew time was their most valuable asset. Inside the house, after searching, the special forces found 3 women and several children who were frightened and unarmed, but there was no sign of al-Baghdadi. Apparently, upon hearing the explosion and the gunfight, al-Baghdadi realized he was trapped. He had fled into a tunnel located in a hidden room to escape. The troops quickly entered the tunnel with a special dog to trap him and went after al-Baghdadi. While escaping, al-Baghdadi found out US forces already closed the exit point of the tunnel. He was in a complete dead end. The special forces who were chasing him from behind approached him closely. When al-Baghdadi found himself at a dead end in the tunnel, he detonated the explosive vest he was wearing. He and the 3 children with him were killed in the explosion. The explosion caused a partial collapse of the tunnel. The forces took full control of the area. They collected a genetic sample from al-Baghdadi's remains for final identification. This sample was immediately matched with a sample previously obtained from al-Baghdadi, and his identity was definitively confirmed. The forces collected a large volume of documents, computers, hard drives, and mobile phones. These materials later became an intelligence treasure trove for identifying remaining ISIS networks. Before local or Turkish forces could react, the helicopters picked up the troops. They left the compound, and immediately afterwards, F-15 aircraft fired missiles and completely destroyed the building so it would never become a shrine. President Trump announced al-Baghdadi's death the following morning from the White House. Last night, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice, Trump declared.
Last night, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead.